Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share insights on what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fumey, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the COO of Bloomin Blinds. I have Kristopher Stuart on the show. Chris, how are you?
Excellent. How are you, Frank?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for coming on.
Appreciate the opportunity.
So my wife and I had a chance to hear you speak actually at the Springboard Conference in last fall. It's great to have you on the show and kind of talk about the story of Bloomin Blinds and how this thing got started.
Yeah, that was my brother Kelsey on stage, but we're frequently misconstrued one for the other. But yeah, I was in the audience giving hand signals and nods of assurance on his comments.
There you go. Okay.
That was the first time at the Springboard that we'd been on, had a stage presence. So we kind of run this company shoulder to shoulder along with my other brother. And so it was very much of a, are we doing okay? Yeah, you're doing great type back and forth. We've never lived apart or worked apart since we've been out of the home. Wow. I'm 45, he's 47. So our ability to communicate with a nod or a wink is next level. And so it makes running the company efficient when we can communicate with that ease and efficiency. So
nice. All right. So
it was Kelsey on stage, and I forget who the moderator for the thing was, but he called me out in the audience for the, calling signs and stuff like the catcher.
Nice. So let's go back to the beginning. I understand Mom is the founder of the company in 2001. Specifically, you mentioned 9/11.
Correct.
And you're one of three brothers that are involved in the company. So let's talk about the genesis of this and how 9/11 obviously impacted the start of this.
Genesis is kind of a BC period to it. Mom did a blind company by herself in Northwest Washington State for 6 or so years prior to moving to Texas. Divorced, self-made, success on multiple other businesses as an entrepreneur, take and bake pizza, children's clothing. This was just the next evolution of something else to do. She's a single woman now, wanted to kind of get out of town. So Texas became the destination. My younger brother, Kevin, came first. I came after. Mom came midsummer of 01. Started rummaging around, getting the business set up. Again, Kevin and I living together, when my younger brother living together now. So we've never been apart as a family. Mom brought that business down to Texas after selling and kind of getting out of Dodge from the relationship up north. Brought the company down here and did the paperwork. 9/11 happened. Comptroller's office stamped the paperwork and was shortly thereafter sent home for a few days. So that became our anniversary as the retail arm, and then franchised paperwork at 14 and first one on the ground at 15.
Wow. And now your background, though, is in firefighting. Is that right?
Yeah. So when we started Bloomin Blinds, it was never intended to be a franchise. This was not built to franchise on inception. It was built to provide a mom and three sons with a family business that could keep us together and we could depend on each other, and which we enjoyed. And it was meant to be jobs. My brother, being the dreamer and that visionary mindset, hence the CEO, said, there's other ways to do this. Like, we don't have to work so hard doing this. There's other efforts we can do and kind of share the love. And the choice was separate the family and go to separate parts of the country and do this, without each other. Or there's this thing called franchising where you could teach other people to do that and they'll take your business out there. And that's how we found franchising, was basically in an effort to not break up the family.
Well, let's go. I want to go back, Chris, to even the beginning. Why blinds? How did the concept start?
The concept started, Mom did it in Washington, right? She was looking for something to do, found an ad in the back of a newspaper of a guy selling an ultrasonic cleaning tank. Literally did the deal on a napkin at a Denny's. She promised to pay 50% of her profits until the tank was paid off. And that's how she got introduced to blinds. She met a really generous, nice, kind person who said, sure, I believe in what you're trying to do. And that kind of became the genesis of the entire entry into window coverings.
And
Mom did it independently. and then her sons joined.
And did she own a business before that? This is her first entrepreneurial journey.
It was her third entrepreneurial journey.
Okay.
Yep. And so she had a series of take and bake. She had 6, I think, at one point, take and bake pizza stores with her mom in Central California. And they did that together. Prior to that, she had a children's clothing shop in Central California prior to moving to Washington. So this was the next evolution of life for her when she had a significant life change and needed to find a landing pad. Much is our history. We created our own.
Wow.
She taught us how to do that.
So you guys are running this company-owned location, for lack of a better word, for 13 years before you franchised the concept, right? I'm just curious to know, I want to get a sense of how big the company was before you franchised.
Yeah, we had, at the peak, we had 11 employees for our local operation, and we're doing just under 3 million in retail sales annually. Okay,
so you guys are happy, you're doing well, and then all of a sudden one day Kelsey goes, I think we need to franchise this. What did you all think?
Shut up and finish your job. Right, because we're all doing the job. Like, brother, we're on a job we need to finish first. Like, let's focus here, right? I'm the ops guy. I want to finish what's in front of me before I go buy the next chunk.
Right.
Well, him, Oliver the dreamer, is like, well, hang on, hear me out. I got an idea. Right, fine, whatever, and keep talking. I got work to do. Uh-huh. And so it was the year, maybe a 2-year process of, it wasn't an overnight thing. Kelsey would, go do some sales appointments, then schedule off the afternoon to go chase paperwork and the learning of the thing that was necessary and just the super high level of entering the franchise space.
Right.
FDD, ops manuals, things like that were necessary elements. He spent the time chasing those, kind of double duty and launching the franchise while also doing retail sales for the family business. So that's how we got all our paper. We had a really great mentor in Chris Connor from Franchise Marketing Systems that became good friends with over the years and has given us great advice. He did the original paperwork for us. Very good mentor, very, helpful in advice and kind of that Jiminy Cricket for us on the shoulder of, hey, watch out for that, check out that, just a sounding board, mostly for Kelsey, but it was great leadership. Kelsey was the sole employee of the franchise for the first couple of years on the books. We were all double dipping in the retail work in retail. And then when we had a franchisee for training, we would, layer those together so we could manage the training and management at the same time. And then in 2017, sold that operation to the then office manager and went full-time franchisor.
Wow.
And kind of plateaued at that, with that capacity, needed full-time attention to kind of get to that next stage. And that's kind of was the beginning of the new evolution, or really the maturity, I think is a better word, of the brand and how we found our space. But,
well, Chris, the thing that you said that is very, very common among us franchisors is that, one, we didn't come from a franchise background or any experience, but 2, we were fortunate to find a mentor and find somebody that would help kind of guide us and lead the way, that you didn't have to just make all the mistakes on your own, because you might not have survived it, but you had somebody that you can rely on and gave you some great guidance. So now you franchised in 2017. You guys sold off then the company location. How many franchises between 2014, from the time you franchised, from 2014 to 2017, how many franchises did you guys have on board before it was like, okay, we're all jumping onto the franchise ship?
In the 20s, I believe, low 20s, right in that range. 24 sounds like a comfortable, but it was somewhere in that range, because we were all, Kelsey would know, it was intimate for him, but we were doing, at the time, I was a firefighter and also, doing retail, install, sales, repair side of the business, as well as training when we had franchisees in town. So it was very ad hoc structure as we were going, because we knew at the time we didn't understand franchising as it is. We wanted to teach other people how to do the job, and we thought that was it, right? If I teach people how to do window coverings, I'm a franchisor. And it took some time and some well-learned lessons to figure out that when you become a franchisor, you really are accepting the responsibility to properly engage 2 separate industries, because franchising has its own needs and requirements, marketing, advertising, voice, volume of voice, that the widget or window coverings doesn't. And we have to be mutually, to give a proper service offering to our franchise business owners, we have to be equally adept at both. We can't just be great widget people and poor franchisors. We have to be excellent franchisors because they're buying a franchise brand, not just a brand, a franchise brand. They're inseparable to us. So, and it took us a while to learn that. And we're eternally grateful for the patience that our early adopting franchisees, franchise business owners gave us, because I feel confident that we did not mislead them in our capability.
Right.
Like, we told them our desires and our direction and our growth path and where we want to be. We just don't quite yet know how to get there. And they said, okay, I get it. Like, they're the early entrepreneurs too. They're the brave ones that are saying, I'll take a chance on you.
They know what they're getting themselves into, generally speaking, in franchising when you're an early adopter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
They're a different breed.
This point in they are. And I'm very grateful for that other side of that breed that isn't always so common, but they brought to the table in spades to get us to the point now where I think we're starting to be able to pay out on those promises of we're trying to, I'm talking with you, like,
yeah,
we made some stride and we're building a brand, and this year is going to be pretty exciting for the things that we're launching this year. So from there to here, I think their patience is going to be rewarded shortly with some lift.
Well, Chris, a lot of the folks I think that pay attention to this podcast are fellow emerging franchisor founders that maybe they just have a dozen franchise locations, or maybe they're where you are, although you're more established now. Just to clarify the numbers, you guys understand you're at 62 owners in 116 territories and, over 24 states. So you're well beyond emerging, but I'd be curious. I love your full transparency on this. As COO, how hard is it to help take those early adopter franchisees when there weren't as many rules? And as you become a franchisor that's more established, suddenly you guys are putting more processes, procedures, there's more rules, there's things that you allowed early on back in 2017 that you can't allow in 2023. Can you share with maybe the audience on how you navigate that very dicey process of bringing people along when there's rules that change?
The first thing that came to mind is like a buffalo, right? I don't know the origin of the storytelling of it, but basically buffalo on the plain engage storms head on, right? They understand that if a storm is coming this direction and I'm going this direction, I'll get through it faster and be done. That's our general mindset about life and things of that nature. It just is what it is. We're very open and honest up front with our franchisees about our current capabilities, our desired capabilities, what we can bring to the table, and how we view progress and maturity. So when it comes, they're like, yep, you told me. All right, I get it. We'll have some massaging. I'll have to change a couple things here and there. But because the entire development of the process was so transparent and upfront, they've seen every nuance of the build of the thing. And it has some costs to it. There's some, oh, you guys talked about this a little bit ago. We went a different direction. Okay, cool. I get it. Like, they know we're always trying to earn our royalty. And so I feel that that's our job, is to never have them ask, why am I paying a royalty to you guys?
Sure.
And if we do that, then as we make changes and as we develop different systems or update processes, they see value in that, because we're still out front. We're still chasing other revenue streams or products or technology or partnerships, whatever. And so there is hey guys, here's this new refinement. Right on. Thanks. I appreciate it. That's progress. We've never lost their trust. And so when we make changes, they believe that it's in their best interest, because we've not, I think we've been transparent in our effort the entire time. And so there's no suspicion of maligned intent or anything else floating around.
Sure. Well, Chris, it sounds like to me, you guys have taken the time to communicate things, and franchise owners, like anybody, they don't like surprises. And by you getting ahead of it helps. I want to go back to something you glossed over. You mentioned firefighter and your firefighting career. How have you taken that career and somehow weaved it in to Bloomin Blinds?
It's the outline that it becomes such a lifestyle, a part of a mindset, approach to where you sit in a restaurant, to how you drive your car on the road, to how you assess an intersection as you come through it. Everything becomes a input. that you can do something with, whether you're in the home on a medical assessment or approaching the scene of an accident and it's the windshield size up. There's information, and that the training teaches you how to process information and prioritize it. This is important, this is not. It becomes so ingrained in you that you can't separate it. For 24 hours, you're in uniform, on duty. You may be sleeping, but you're switched on the entire time. So you're constantly taking in information. And so it becomes such an ingrained part of you that, bluntly, I don't know another way. So when we scaled our team and brought in ops team and customer care center, call center, if you will, in-house, and we went from 3 people on October 17th to 16 staff members on October 18th, I had to basically insert overnight a management practice system, if you will. And my only frame of reference in people management came from a public safety sector. I figured if it mattered, if the training style and methodology was specifically designed to teach people skills, physical skills that are necessary to potentially save lives or property, why can't that just be parlayed into window coverings? And so that made it wasn't to transition. I just changed topics.
Right.
But how we create training content, course objective, resources necessary, the props, that's how you build a roof prop simulation for ventilating a roof on a structure fire. It's the same points are there. A firehouse, the management of a firehouse and the people and personalities, right? You've got all 6 to 8 personalities from varying backgrounds that are all focused on the same tasks for somebody else with limited information. I mean, that is a blind appointment, right? We have dispatch in office as the call center.
Right.
We have the kitchen table, which we all eat together at. We've got varied personalities focused on a single task for somebody else. At the end of the day, our job, our function, if you will, in our office is knowledge transfer. That's whether it's business operations, window covering, motorization programming, knowledge from a strategic partnership that we align. We're a conduit, and our job is to be a very efficient conduit from knowledge of one point to another, and vice versa. And as long as we are not a bottleneck for that, people value us in that position. And that's much like firefighting. I was the officer of the station. I'm a conduit from up high and down low in both directions. And so the similarities almost directly overlap in the kind of viewpoint and focus. And a lot of people scoff at it, like, oh, firefighting is so important. It's a job. It's a very rewarding, necessary, fulfilling job, but it's a job. This is a job. Like, you can use the same mindsets. If they're important there, they can be important here to the same outcome. So
sure.
Yeah, it was.
Well, let's see it. Chris, let's show the audience what your training center looks like and how you've applied the firefighting career to Bloomin Blinds.
As if it were a roof simulation prop, we have functional scale props with technological broadcast capability. See kind of the culinary school monitor. That's a training class. You've got 3 owners down there and a technician training currently.
Wow.
But yeah, it's just as if we were building a roof simulator at the firehouse. It's got to be to scale. It's got to have function. It's got to have no distraction from the task. So there's no paint on the props. So we're not concerned about scratching things. I want sole focus on the task at hand. So everything down there was designed and conceived to eliminate distraction. So what we do here is this is job training. We got them for 2 weeks. We have to teach you a skill. In 2 weeks, I need you to go from 0 to hero in 90 hours to be able to stand in your home and confidently offer our services, not product, services. Our first product is an emotion. I leave your home with money, but the for transaction is an emotion because I don't have a product left behind for 2 weeks. So there's the reality that how you do that to then deliver the product is a very nuanced thing. And I think that's where we shine as a brand in a space shared by others, is a completely different approach to the thing. And that excitement and kind of the feeling left with the consumer is not of regret and wonder if it was a good deal. It's excitement and telling their girlfriends and their husbands' friends how excited they are. In 2 weeks, they're going to get what they paid for.
And Chris, tell me what, if there was somebody who was listening that might be a potential franchisee, what makes your brand different and what you do or why you do what you do?
Yeah, one of the biggest differentiator for us is the repair space and how we view that repair. We were the first national brand to offer repairs in home. There are others, and flattery's the or imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Sure, I'll take it. But we started that, and I think that that changes the way we speak and educate the customer on the product. We come at it from a how does it function first standpoint, and it has to meet the performance needs of the consumer. And if that performance need is simply design or texture, we can do that too. But if it's light control, I absolutely have a product that is better served for light control. If it's privacy, I have a product that's great for privacy. I have one that doesn't do so great for privacy. And it's our job, it's the franchise business owner's job in the home to help educate that customer in that decision making tree, if you will. So when they make that decision for 2 weeks, they know exactly what they're going to get. And then it shows up exactly like we told them it would, does exactly what it said. And there's consistency in that for the same price, right? That from start to finish, we never have to remember what we said because there's no lies, there's no salesmanship. It's data points of this one performs 2 points better than this one. Like here it is on paper. And then we show them that again, to the firefighting, it's the idea of an informed patient, right? In medicine or EMS, when we have a patient on the ground, we need to deliver interventions to life-saving or whatever is necessary on them. It's our duty as EMS providers to make them an informed patient, which means the benefits and risks of the medicine we're going to administer, if it's going which route and, potential side effects of that. We do the exact same thing in our training here. Here, this is customer. We call him Mrs. Smith. I need to make you an informed buyer, an informed consumer. I need to show you the benefits and risks of this product and as it applies to your application. I need to show you what it's going to cost, how it's going to come, what it's going to look like. And we could do all that with technology, with augmented reality visualizers and all sorts of advanced technologies that our industry is yet to really adopt. And we're kind of putting those at the forefront. So we take this very analog idea of repair and fixing and kind of hang on a second, let me take that apart and give it a look and layer that with the care and compassion that somebody that actually cares how your life's going to be affected by what they do to, for, or with you. And then the knowledge and capability of an advanced level understanding of technological systems and things like that. And now you have a mechanic that came out from under a car in a suit with clean fingers that says, hang on, I can sell you a car. Let me tell you about this one. And he's an expert because he fixes them all day long.
Right. So you're looking for people, they're conscientious, they're empathetic people. They know that obviously they're going to somebody's home, but they very much are relationship people.
Yep.
Those
very value-minded.
Value-minded. So who is your ideal franchise owner? Is there a particular background that has been sort of a common thread among your franchise owners?
We've had everyone that owned a flour mill manager to special operations veteran to police, fire, accounting. I think the crux of it is somebody who's considerate, somebody who can be considerate of others and actually integrate a response into a problem solving equation, because it's what we're solving, functional problems in the home, and consider downstream impacts, right? So the analytical process, being able to think about and what if, but not get stuck into it. So being able to quickly, and I say consider it, not just from the compassionate side of it, but from the analytical side of consideration. Like we just use discretion in the fire department. Discretion can go a bunch of different ways, from privacy to decision-making. And so it's kind of the consideration goes into that. It's being able to, quick thinking, analytical, very relational. Like to say, if you can't hold a conversation with a stranger at the checkout line at the supermarket and it be pleasant, this may not be the right franchise for you. And you have to be able to communicate. You can't communicate, I wish you well in whatever endeavor it will be, but this needs the ability to communicate that consideration, technical data, being able to clearly explain well understood concepts that are other words technologically unreachable for a layman.
Right, right. Let's go back to, if I was a potential franchise owner, what's the more important trait? That I have a sales background of getting obviously to be able to get sales, or am I hiring for that? Or am I more of a technical person? And are they doing the hands-on work, or are they hiring people? So I'm a new franchise owner, Chris. Who am I hiring? What am I doing? Am I doing this myself? Am I hiring people? Who am I employing?
Between those two, I would say sales minded, because that's the people management side of it.
Yes.
The technical aspect, we teach. You scale out an employee, send them here, we teach them for free. Same 2-week training, the full meal deal in here under our tutelage, 90 hours, no cost. So that's the first advantage for us when you onboard an employee. But someone who's managed people, between the sales and technical aspect, that's where we find the greatest learning points for new franchisees as they go to kind of that next level of their business ownership, is learning to manage people. They've had typically experience in it under the guidelines of large companies that have spent millions on suits and attorneys to create those protocols that they are very rigid about maintaining. And then they go into their own ownership, and now they have staff and employees, and they have loose guidelines from their state that they haven't, HR stuff going across state lines. We can't really get into that area of it, joint employer, obvious issues, but
Sure.
now it's not just the legal, it's the motivational, it's the, how do I inspire them? How do I reach them where they emotionally need me to be to get them motivated in the way that I need to? Those are the kind of the nuanced stuff that you can't put in the brochure, that you either got it or you don't. Like, you're a people person or you're a leader manager kind of conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
We ran into that a lot in the fire department. You've got great inspirational leaders that are horrible managers. You've got great managers that couldn't lead, lead a fish underwater, right? So, and if you can lead people, management's a skill that can be taught. Right? That's a task. Leadership is a mindset, and I think so. Between sales and technical, you give me a choice, I'm going to go with the sales guy, because he has a mindset different that the technical focus sometimes needs to develop in time.
Okay, and how do you guys help franchise owners find clients?
Find clients, digital marketing. Our primary footprint is in the digital space. Scorpion is our web partner. We've been with them. We were their 6th franchise client when they onboarded a franchise division. So we've been with them for about 6 years. And so they've got a really good data set on our customer base and kind of where they're found, what our sales channels are getting them at, and what value each one of those has. Because of our experience in office, we don't have any franchisors, any franchising experience in office. Everyone is a widget person. They're all from the window covering industry, our entire team.
Right.
So we find great partners in this space that we trust and that help educate us in their fields enough to make good decisions on behalf of the franchise, because we're not IT guys. We're not SEO specialists. We don't have that skill set in office. So we find very vetted, proven partners and trust them to do what they do well, much like our manufacturers do. So
it's very smart, because you're doing what you're best at and outsource the things that you're not, right? That's the right way to run a business. Chris, I'm kind of curious, as the COO of the company, you've got, 62 owners, 116 territories. You guys have reached this established franchised status now. You're no longer, just emerging and up and coming. So I would love for you to share with these emerging founders that are hearing this podcast on, how did you know, as the COO, and also your brother as the CEO, how did you guys know it's like, okay, we can go quicker now. We can scale this more quickly. Internally, infrastructure wise, when did you know it was okay to start turning the dial up?
I think the first real deflection point in our path came when we first looked to onboard a franchise sales organization. We were talking with a few different ones at the time, and they were, varying perspectives on the idea, different models, some equity, some royalty, some nothing. And we found, we're with Franchise Fastlane, and we found Franchise Fastlane, and they did their vetting process, and they basically said, great, everything looks good. Just so you know, if you onboard with us and you're not ready to absorb the infrastructure, the pressure on your infrastructure, it's going to crush you. And we looked at each other, which at the time was 3, and went, What infrastructure? Like, there's three of us, guys. Like,
I'm so glad you're saying this. I love that you're saying this because so many people are going to relate to this. All right. So then what happens next?
right. And so, okay, there's a realization of we can't. So we don't. So, to the best of my knowledge, I think we're the only brand that's told Fastlane no, right? It's self preservation, but
Mm-hmm.
we'll take the stat. And so then it became, okay, well, how do we? And from a very, again, useful skill set of making order out of chaos, which was a previous feature of my day,
Right.
it became, okay, well, we've got all this. It's like cleaning your room when you're a child and it's just a disaster. Where do you start? Right. You end up playing with your toys instead of cleaning the room. And it was that idea of, okay, we can't play with the toys. We have to clean and organize our room. And we have to figure out which piles are bigger than others and where we have to move stuff to be able to do this thing. And then, so it was a function of the really foreign concept of goal setting,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, nobody's ever heard of that before. But we said, look, if we're going to do this, these are the elements that we're going to need. So that was in 2019, early 2019, 2020, right? The event that will not be mentioned happened. And it was, oh shit, bluntly,
Hmm.
COVID happened, and there were still three of us at the time. We all sat, our desks are in a triangle in the same room, and so we're all looking across the desk at each other. And we're like, guys, there's at the time 52 families that are counting on us to be here. What are we gonna do?
Mm.
Like, we're not scaled. There's three of us. How are we gonna? We're in home service in a respiratory pandemic.
Yeah.
Like,
How are you going
how's
to
this gonna
survive this?
work?
Yeah. How's the company going to survive this, Chris?
And so, I mean, window coverings, essential services, because I knew how to read municipal ordinances and was writing SOPs for the fire department. I knew the difference in shall, thus, may, must in a
Mm-hmm.
municipal document. So I was, send me all your ordinances that say you have to be essential in so many ways to go work. So I'm now receiving 50 some municipal ordinances from our franchisees highlighting 4 to 5 different things. Or you only had to meet one to be essential. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this isn't this. You're essential. Sending it back to him, like, put this on your front seat. Go take appointments, guys. And except for the California shops, everybody went to work. So we had, I think, through that period, a 47% lift in sales, because so if you were willing to work there, home services, we all know what happened to home services and
Exploded.
franchising.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if you were willing to get out there and do it, which our guys were, they went and did it. And so we just kept working. Commute was easy. Kelsey, Kevin, and I kept coming to the same office every day. We were making lunches instead of ordering lunches. And so we had a owner in the system that had a lending arm. And so we were looking at SBA, we're looking at PPP, we've got an expert under roof. And so it was just a matter of mustering resources as if I were incident command. Hey, I need a guy over here for this specialty. Great. Who do I got on my resource board? Great. Call up that one. Like, send him over there. And it was just managing order out of chaos as soon as COVID hit. We knew the goal was out there to scale and expand. So once the hugeness of COVID subsided a little bit and normality started to seep back in, SBA opened up the EIDL, and EIDL became available. And we said, wait a second, I can do a loan. I don't have to sell any of this. We can retain ownership and
Mm-hmm.
still do our own thing. And a bit of arrogance, like, our path is the best path, but that's why you franchise it, because you believe in it so much. So
Right.
we got some EIDL money, said, thank you very much, Mr. Government, and onboarded team, staff, call center, headquarters office, the furniture, cabling, everything that was necessary to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
had the runway to scale, and basically, like a buffalo, invest into that storm and say, look, we're either going to build it or buy it, and we don't have the resources to buy it. So we need to build it. So let's go buy the best tools and materials we can in technology and team. And here we are. That was in October 18th. We kind of went plateau with, that was the day all our team started. So that's kind of our next maturity as a full brand, and engage in the IFA and properly engage in the franchising industry. And I think that's why we've seen so much success in the last couple of years. Franchise Fastlane's notoriety and reputation certainly didn't hurt,
Mm-hmm.
but having that, the team being able to focus there so we could go focus on brand development and engaging that industry and participate in the IFA and Springboard and those events has been like, everything's in alignment. I say a lot serendipity. One of our VP of Ops says God's will. It's tough to it's tough for me to stand here and not believe it's been touched by that powerful hand on a considerable degree.
Yeah.
Everything aligns when we need it to here, and it is a very bountiful feeling of being blessed.
That's
It
awesome.
makes it fun.
How many times do we have things happen where we go, all right, there is no coincidence. There's too many things that are aligning here, and too many things happen for, we always say, a big believer in things happen for us, not to us. And you guys made the best of a very tough situation. And more importantly, as I'm hearing you talk, Chris, for this past, 30 some odd minutes, I keep thinking that how lucky and how smart your mom is and your family that you guys put the right people in the right seats on the bus. Because I continually hear, as you're speaking, you are a COO. You were the right brother to be the COO. And it sounds like your older brother was the right person to be the CEO, being the dreamer. And your younger brother, Kevin, I understand that he's the technical officer. He's the widget guy. It's like you guys put the right people in the right seats. And I think that is a huge, huge compliment to the success of you guys. And yeah, no surprise.
I think that is our cheat code, right? A lot of brands have a single founder, there's a single viewpoint, and it's genius. For their thing, it is absolutely the guy for that thing, and it is brilliant. But it's a single viewpoint. We, through nature of nurture, DNA, birthright position, all that stuff, it fostered those personalities in us so deeply, and our history has been so intertwined, shoulder to shoulder forever. Mm-hmm. That we basically have each 33 and a third % of that circle. Our desks are still in the same office. They still touch corners. They're 120-degree desks now, so they make a full circle. It allows us to have that input from all three perspectives, knowing that he's not trying to undermine me. That's my brother, right? He loves me and wants me to do well and support me in this brand. I know what he's fighting me on is from his mindset position, not on his outcome position. Our outcome, and that's what eliminates the fight, is wait, we're all trying to get to the same place. Okay, bring your third. I'll bring my third, not 2/3. It's just a third. It overlaps enough to not be in conflict. And so we get that hive mind almost of all three perspectives on a decision, not just the single founder's posture or viewpoint of the world or his widget that doesn't consider the other pathways that are out there. So yeah, we are absolutely perfectly suited for our positions that we're currently doing.
Have you guys had times though where the three of you did not agree on major strategic, and how'd you get through that?
It's conveniently three. So my brother likes to tell the story. So he's our dev guy. We were at a franchise conference.
Okay.
Kelsey, Kevin, and myself. It was our first time at franchise. So we launched with Fastlane in, I think, December of 2000, or maybe it's 2001, start 21. And so we were at their first franchise conference, and we had decided that we were all going to wear the matching black t-shirts and kind of, I'm 6'4" and I'm the runt. And so we were all going to kind of, and Tom Ryan, who was our director at the time, if anyone knows him, he's a 6'4" guy also. So here's, 6'4" to 6'6". We were all going to wear the same t-shirts and shoulder to shoulder and like enter the room like a huge wall of branding. Kelsey had a pink shirt on, and we're like, Kelsey, no, it's t-shirt day. Like, we talked about this. And he's like, I want to wear pink. And we're like, Kevin, you vote? Black t-shirt. It's close, right?
Kelsey, go back to the room. Go change.
But it's development. It's his focus. It's his decision technically, right, to make. But the vote wins. All the way to, a 6-figure contract that we're going to do our branding project with was the same feature. It's like, well, I'm not quite sure about it. Well, let's vote. 2 hands up, 1 down, done. Contract signed 5 minutes later. So, and it's just that 2/3 is better than none. And so if we can consider 2/3 of the 2 out of 3 of those perspectives, we have a majority in favor. Simple as that, right? We're all fighting for the same thing, from a different viewpoint. So consider that 2 out of 3 wins. Event's over. Let's go to the next.
Cool.
And it's working in the same office. We've fought for years, like cleaning blinds in the back of a 14-foot box truck in Texas summer. You get out all the nitpicking and bickering and all that stuff long ago. So now they're just whatever. Like, let's get to the important stuff. There's no posturing anymore. Everyone's very comfortable in their space and who they're with.
That's awesome. Your mom is a very, very smart lady, very lucky that she's got three great boys that somehow figured this all out. And I'm sure she played a very big role in that.
Product of our environment.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, the three of you talk about sort of the vision for the company. Like where ultimately do you want to take this?
Under Armour, right? Nationwide. So we frequently talk, we all know who the Nike is in our industry.
Sure.
But Under Armour came on to Nike, and in a matter of 3 to 5 years had gobbled up how much of their market share?
Yeah, a whole lot.
So that's where we view ourselves, right? Is we, Budget laid the groundwork for the model. It can be done. It can be done well. But let's do it a little bit better. Let's do it our way, our methodology, our local intimate voice, and keep it that way. We try and say, if we can do kind of Farmer Tom's mindset with Amazon speed, right? Where our grandpas used to go get a bag of feed for the horses, and if they forgot their wallet, a handshake was enough, because there was that relationship between Farmer Tom and a grandpa, that he's coming back on Tuesday with his wallet, and feed store owner knows it, but it's fine. Handshake. We'll see you later, Tom. All right. And if you could do that at Amazon, like drone delivery style speed and the transparency, and maintain that relationship while integrating that, I mean, the sky's the limit. I think society is yearning for intimate relationships back again. Between the last 2 decades of social media and the kind of the dissolving of some of that relationship. I think
agree
that is the society's clamoring back for that, but they don't want to sacrifice the technology for it. They really enjoy this speed and convenience, but man, I miss some of that. Not all the old ways, but some of the old feelings that I used to have. So if we can use the technology to reinforce how our relationship point with you and not replace it, I think that's where we want to go. There's some AI tools that we want to bring in, certainly on the design side, but even on the communication side as well. But how those fit in our model are very, very strategic, very localized in the process. It'll never replace human interaction, but we can do some communication tools that are very, very efficient and deliver some great information, links and things like that through some automation that continue communication and reinforce known relationship, as opposed to like, let's eliminate the people and just throw bots at it. We'll never use automation to replace the person. It'll always be used for our brand to enhance that person's position in the home and strengthen their foundation, if you will. But that's on the near horizon, is really tightening up our service offering and bringing in some of those technological pieces that are out there, and really looking at how those can reinforce our very rigid critical elements that the hills will die on, if you will.
Right. Tell me about some of the challenges on the manufacturing side.
Well, the manufacturer, we don't manufacture.
Right.
So we make sure we have really good partners. COVID didn't have the biggest limitation through COVID, which is our most recent experience in anything on the supply chain, was that just the shipping element of it.
Right.
Product sourcing for in our industry didn't really tighten up much. Some of the woods did because of import restrictions, but it wasn't from a product quantity. It was legality, right? Like stuff crossing borders that might have COVID stuck all over it. All that's gone. I think as the shipping constraints lifted up, I think our delays were some of the first to kind of dissolve. So our job in the manufacturing side is to make sure we find partners at the strategic level that align with our viewpoints. There are brands out there that are just product brands. They don't want relationship. They don't want to do anything other than move units. More power to you, buddy. I wish you the best, but that's not us. Like, I would rather move 1 unit and have you love me and call me back in 2 years than move 22 units and have you wonder why you bought those. You'll buy the other 21 from us. I'll just wait for it, because I know you will. You'll go talk to the other one and then talk and ask how we did it, and you'll see the difference. There's a bit of trusting that it will sell itself, and then a little bit of motivation behind it in the marketing space. And we had only word of mouth marketing as a retail unit for a handful of years. All we did was door hangers to get to $3 million in sales. We didn't have a website at the time. Yeah.
And look, going back in time, you guys did get through, this is before franchising, but you guys did get through the recession. And
all of them.
Yeah. So you went through definitely at least 2 of them for sure. And we can argue that we're mid-recession now, or a recession is coming, or we're in a recession that's rolling. I know other founders would probably love to hear what you're going to say. Is that how did you get through the recession in a business that does not sound recession resistant?
The repair side was the functional element of that. As people stopped buying new products, they were replacing repairing what they were stuck at home staring at. As you know, you're going out to dinner less, you're now in the dining room more, and all those things become apparent. So having the repair model maintains cash flow. The margins on repairs are significantly higher than sales. Your net sales may go down, but your profitability may maintain, or so that it happened to us after the '08 recession. But it is a part of its resiliency, right? It's mindset, right? You can't quit, right? You can, right? But you don't, right?
Right.
You don't get into this. It's like in my second marriage, honey, when I'm done with you, like no one says that stuff. You don't become a franchisor to quit. So put all your eggs in that basket and be resilient as you possibly can. And if you have one Z in your system, you have to go down with the ship. That's the promise.
Right. You're a franchisor. That's it.
That's it.
The horse has left the barn.
Yourself to that ship. Yep. And until somebody else wants to come in and take over your ship for you, your one job is to maintain the water tightness of that vessel for everybody else that you agreed to protect under its, in its hull or under its umbrella, however you want to call it. So that resiliency mindset, we've got a thing of a picture of a shark on the wall, and it's just the jaw, and it's all graffitied up and kind of colorful and fun on a black background. And we like to tell people, like, we're the nicest sharks you'll ever meet, but we're still sharks. Like, we still I'm here to make profit. I'm here for success for myself, my family, my Z's, like everybody attached. But at the same time, a shark can't sleep. It can't stop moving. If it stops swimming, it dies. So it has to keep going forward. And so there's a lot of that mindset stuff that, again, pulled from the fire department, right? Like everything's mindset. You can't quit. I'm tired, or the house is on fire. Like, I'll just sit here and just rest a little bit, right? You can't stop. You have to keep going. It's just a constant, never quit mindset. That's probably 80% of it. The other 10% is your cash runway, and the other 10% is, your processes and stuff to get you through those things. But like most everything, I think the vast majority of it's your mental position on the task. And if it's, I'm going to succeed and I won't be stopped, you can't be stopped.
Sure. You spend the time coming up with the solution, not focusing on the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a life lesson, not just a franchise lesson.
Yeah, for sure. What's been your biggest surprise since being involved in the franchise industry?
That came early on, and I figured out what it meant recently, but the fact that the widget has nothing to do with franchising. They're disassociated topics. That was the biggest learning curve as a whole. Recently, it's the acknowledgement that letting other people handle your stuff makes it better. Letting it go. That emotional attachment of a founder to their thing. If you hire somebody to represent your thing and go do work and then tell them exactly how you want it because you're the founder and it's yours, it'll always just be that thing. It takes all those other inputs to reach the next plateau and to scale. I mean, it's a known thing that founder attachment, that emotional anchor that sometimes keeps brands from accelerating is once you're the captain of the ship, you're not running the engine room anymore.
Right. We call that founderitis, inflammation of the founder when they get in their way, right?
Yep. And if you can talk about it and you can nod your head and agree with it, then maintaining that is choice. And you have to be honest with yourself if you're making that choice, what it's going to lead to.
Sure.
If you could say that and you can acknowledge it, then to me, that's like all you need to not do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say that you give your business what it needs, and sometimes it will need something more than just you. If you really love it, it's not about you. A business is never about you. Well, you guys certainly have, learned that lesson as, Mom was the founder, but the three of you have navigated this journey just tremendously. Chris, what advice would you give to people that are considering joining your brand as a franchise owner?
Single piece of advice to somebody considering a Bloomin Blinds: come here. I think we're working on how to talk about the feeling that this place gives. And that's been our challenge, is how to take what people consistently tell us is different within 3 to 5 minutes of being in the room. They get here and they're like, whoa, what are you guys doing here? And it's They want more of it. It's never like skeptical. There's a feeling in the room, the way we work, the way that the team interacts. Right now, it's tough to talk about it, right? We gave Franchise Fastlane a really cool feeling without a lot of content to talk about it. We're mature and we didn't develop the assets
Right.
For them to do that. And we're real close to being finished on a project that will do it exactly that. We found a great team in the advertising marketing space that understood that exactly, that challenger brand mindset. To get here, to feel that feeling, to be in the room, to let it kind of just wash over you and be like, okay, now I get it. All the calls and the UE calls and all that stuff that's necessary, but the most impactful thing is just getting in the room. And Fastlane in the process, that's their confirmation day, but in very short order, it's going to be something that's tangible and tactile that we can hand to somebody. Come and meet, and we can take everybody down here. Let's see, we've got Aaron as an IT services manager. Juan Pablo used to fix cars. Rocio used to own a employment company, and I believe Tracy was an attorney for a Fortune 500 company.
Wow. What a diverse group, huh?
Right. And the three of them are owners and one's a technician. So like we could take from all sorts. If you're a people person, you can communicate. We can teach you this. We can teach you the widget and the skill. And we will do so to a confidence level. Confidently do it at an introductory level is the messaging of our training division. So
that's so
the
cool.
students should be able to do the job, confidently do the job at an introductory level upon finishing the school. Because there's too much. You can't do confident in expert, but I can teach you how to learn. I can show you the support tools, and I can teach you how to use us as resources. They get everybody's cell phone number, including mine, and Kelsey's, everybody else's when they leave here, because we did the job. We're all widget people from front to back. You can call our entire team and they can support you doing the job.
Very nice. You guys have created quite the culture, it sounds like. And it sounds like to me there's a mystique about Bloomin Blinds that people just need to see and feel like you're saying be there. That's awesome.
I'm proud of the feeling. I will be proud of our assets when they're created. But I'm more glad that we created the thing and then had to figure out how to talk about it more than we had to craft a thing to fit the talked about points.
You did it in the right order.
It feels genuine as all get out.
Yeah.
And that's of utmost for us. Is no one will ever wonder, did you mean that? If we said it, we meant it. And that goes for our consumers, our franchise business owners, the rest of the franchising industry, our partners. They know who we are. There's no guessing or wondering. I like that.
Nice. Chris, if someone was interested in learning more about the franchise opportunity, how can they get more info?
BloominBlinds.com. There's a franchise button at the top, and that'll take you right to the team at Franchise Fastlane. Or you can call Franchise Fastlane directly and go to their website. But they handle all our dev for us. BloominBlinds.com for more information. Everyone's available.
This has been great. Chris, one more thing, the tip jar. So franchise community is so generous. What do you got? If I'm an entrepreneur aspiring to get into franchising, what's one piece of advice that you'd give me? IFA. Absolutely.
Go to the IFA early. I wish 8 years ago when we started talking about this, we would have engaged the IFA. We'd have had this conversation years ago, pre-COVID, had we had our friends in the IFA that we do now helping us manage and navigate this learning curve.
Right.
That is the single greatest source of information, of knowledge in the franchising industry is at or within or surrounding the IFA. They're the umbrella that protects us all and has the most collective mentorship and sharing of ideas and desire to. My tip jar is go to the big show early, go make friends, stand in the middle of the room and raise your hand and say, I need a friend.
Right. Right.
It'll be like a moth to flame. It'll be like, ooh, someone needs a friend. I like friends.
Right.
That is franchising.
That is.
And it's a relationship.
Yeah. Look, heck, if Kelsey would have known that and wanted to go to the IFA early, you guys wouldn't have told him to shut up and go back to work.
We did. We did. And I feel bad. Like I'm actively pursuing the team at the IFA. Right. Like, how can I asked him, like, give me a job, don't pay me, but I feel bad because for years, and I've told this to Matt Haller, I said, for years, we trash talked the IFA because we didn't understand it.
Yes.
We didn't engage it. We were head down,
making widgets,
not engaging franchising, not being good franchisors. And I mean, I feel a debt of gratitude, certainly, that I need to repay in whether it's advocacy or a mentorship through their roundtable, whatever it is. But man, we'd be 10 years ahead had we had that level of guidance and surrounding ourselves, total immersion of the franchising world there, and the purity of mission and everything that they have and have maintained. That'd be my tip.
Chris, we're going to end it there. That was fantastic advice. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you one day.
Look forward to it. You going to be at the big show in Phoenix?
I sure will.
I will find you.
All right. See you. See you then.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.